rank where the view is nothing less than phenomenal. For how I express and project from my abdominal. The only view better, both my daddy and my mama know. No living parents, my sons give me balance. My wife is my serenity, this mic is my identity. The world is foul enough, that's why I write without obscenities. Provoking danger with broken language and spoken anguish. Begging to get hurt, why would you ask to go through changes? Yes, Lord, life's a chessboard, master the angles. Control the tempo, be the one who holds the info. Acknowledge is just as deadly as machete swings. When spoken, the truth is as potent as that Medellin. While others swear the style is free, I just let it ring. Our time is undervalued, soldiers make us better kings. My fans on my shoulder, reaching after better things. Today I take the shot, for them I'd rather set the screen.
My mama told me follow my dreams. My daddy told me get it by any means. Stand tall, make him bow to a king. But I've evolved, you can see the result. Look in my eyes when you speaking to God.
Life and for those who we caught up in using what I was scarred with the muse. I guess they call it proving I'm more than an artist. Penciling out my darkest while stenciling out a harvest. And storing what gets me from A to B just like garages. Instrumental with collages. Envision what I've been drawing. Broadway to give you rhythm like the great Lena Horne. So bent on, found comfort in the storm. Find peace and on when you see them others perform. Organized chaos, I'll cast it like hey ya.
Yo, party people in the place to be. What's good? It's your number one Chief Rock Knicks Universe, your main man, Uncle Freezy, and welcome to a little featurette. Man, I brought in one of my homies from back in the day. I brought in one of the, I'm bringing in one of the 2018 homies, right? Bringing in one of the 2018 homies to talk that talk the way that y'all like to have that talk to y'all. Man, I remember when me and this guy used to sit on the Nothing But Knicks panel and just look at each other through the boxes like, hey, it was good. That was a long time ago, man. That was the Nothing But Knicks days, man. Salute to Simeon Russell, who still is out there doing great stuff. Man, I'm going to bring in who I think is maybe the number 2 Chief Rocker. I can't call him that. Y'all know who the number 1 Chief Rocker is, right? Let me bring in my man, Nick G. Nick G, what's good, baby boy?
Salute, everybody. Been a long time. How y'all doing?
Hey, man, we got a lot to talk about, bro. A lot to talk about.
Yeah. I think we differ on some things too, but that's good. Let's talk.
Yeah, let's get it, man. The Knicks fight Tom Thibodeau on June 3rd, bro.
Yeah.
It's June 12th, man. What's happening?
You want my opinion on Tibbs?
Hey, you know I have an opinion on just about everything, even fine dining establishments in the state of South Carolina.
Oh my gosh!
Right, right. You know I have opinions on everything, right? But so, I hadn't heard your thoughts on Tom Thibodeau. The departure, the way the departure occurred, implications, and what you're looking for as a long-term solution. If you want to speak to all 4 of those, or just do one at a time, it's up to you. So, how do you like Tibbs?
So, that's a good place to start. Because the beginning of the Nothing But Knicks days, before it's when what's his name got fired, you know who I'm talking about, the coach before Tibbs,
the glasses,
yeah,
Fizdale.
Fizdale, yeah. Before Fizdale got fired, I was pining for a coach to establish culture and foundation. I didn't feel like Fizdale did, or at least he didn't have the support, or they had a good cohesive game plan to do so. Tibbs comes in. I actually pined for Tibbs over many other coaches like Atkinson and stuff like that.
You and I were doing that together.
And I felt like Tibbs did do that. So over the years, I've defended Tibbs. Felt like Tibbs was pretty much my term back when Sim was rocking was Tibbs is going to be like the college years.
Yeah.
Tibbs is like going to college, getting your lumps, being alone away from the parents, finding yourself, establishing like the values you want to do and you like take into your main life or for the rest of your life and years, and then also things that would really form like the future, right? So now that we've come to this point, we made all these trades and stuff like that. I felt like the voice of Tibbs kind of got dissipated from the coming down of last season, losing to Indy. I think that was like peak Tibbs. Tibbs had like everyone was rocking with Tibbs. Hartenstein was rocking with him. You could tell DiVincenzo rocked with him because DiVincenzo had a career year. Hartenstein too. Mitchell Robinson, even though he got hurt, he was rocking with him because he had peaked. Like he had his best defensive season ever.
Derrick Rose bounced back.
Not last year though. I mean, Derrick Rose did have a bounce back, but like if you go back to last year,
Oh, last
a
year,
lot of people peaked. You know what I mean? Like that was peak Tibbs.
Yeah, last season. Yeah.
Everyone, if you look at the vibes after that, like you couldn't tell anybody anything bad about Brunson. We'll fight. Them is fighting words, right?
Right. Those are fighting words. Right.
We get Cat. We get Mikal, and it's like everything flipped. Whether or not it's his voice got weary on guys, the Fred Katz article and what's his name, James Edwards article from the Athletic. Those guys really just gave us some type of insight into what happened during that season. And whether fair or unfair, I do feel like Tibbs' voice is just not as powerful. Maybe people got tired of it. So I love Tibbs. I love the foundation that he did. But one of the things that he's always struggled with and was very evident in Minnesota was he struggled with personalities rebelling or not being team first. Like when guys are like getting off the path, he doesn't rally guys up and pull guys in and say, this is what we need to do. He's not that kind of people person. He's a goal-oriented person. So I thought letting go of Tibbs was okay. I didn't mind it because I felt like he's hit his peak. So I'm not disappointed in the fact that he got fired.
Right.
I'll tell you what I'm disappointed in.
Okay.
It feels like there was a James Dolan firing, not Leon Rose firing. Some of the things we're hearing is James Dolan interviewed guys. And look, I understand James Dolan. If he interviewed guys and felt like, let's say 10 out of 15 guys said, look, Tibbs got to go. I'm tired of Tibbs, right? If 10 guys or whatever the percentage is said that they're tired of Tibbs, yeah, I could understand firing him. But the reason why I say it feels like a James Dolan firing is because it feels like there's no game plan for the next option. It didn't feel like there was okay, we definitely have the replacement. If we let him go, we just got to make one phone call and that guy's here. That's the part that I feel like if you look at Mark Jackson when he got let go, it really wasn't much of a question when they went to Steve Kerr. That's always been my contention. You let go of Tibbs, you need your Steve Kerr-esque type coach to just like take us up. There are many guys that take over after good coaches and the franchise goes down. So I'm not gonna knock the firing of Tibbs. I just knock the process that we're in right now. I don't mind the taking your time, going through the rigmarole. I don't like the idea of we're going online and we're reading all these stories about all these other coaches and teams that we're getting rejected from. No, you can't interview Jason Kidd. No, you can't interview Ime Udoka. I don't like that part.
Okay. I respect that opinion. I have a totally different stance though. Not the Tibbs part, because you and I were pounding the table for Tibbs and during COVID.
Yeah.
Before Tibbs got hired, we were like, no. We can't do this. What's his name? You remember the coach that ran Horns all game, the replacement coach?
Mike Miller, right?
Oh, we can't do another. No, we cannot do another Mike Miller type.
Yeah.
We can't do another David Fisdale.
Yeah.
Jeff Hornacek, Derek Fisher, Rambis type. We can't. We got to have Tibbs. I'm tired of the circus. Right? We need structure. So you and I were pounding the table because there were some candidates out there. We felt like if you bring them in, it would be the 3-ring circus all over again. It'd just all you need is a tent.
Yeah.
Right. So you and I were that was my mindset, and I think you and I were on the same page. The thing though with the rumors, anybody that has lived in New York or lived in the New York tri-state area, or even immerse yourself in the New York culture, you know people gossip. Back pages is a real thing. Regardless who you hire, how you hire that person, how you bring them in, the back pages need something on it. Right? And so now that the Knicks don't have a head coach in the most dormant head coaching time of the year, the back pages are full of gossip.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why Dolan likes to control the narrative around his team, because the New York media, in theory, and the national media are a runaway freight train when it comes to gossip.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they do. They get clicks off the Knicks by calling the Knicks a grease fire. Now, mind you, everybody that talks about the Knicks leadership are minions. Dudes that work for somebody else complain about leadership. Now, I'm a human being. In case y'all can't tell, I'm a human being with little muscle. You know, trying to eat right, get in the gym, trying to exercise a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Good, man.
Try to do a little something. Try to do a little something. You know what I'm saying? Trying to, you know what I'm saying?
Looking team extra light skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, beige, baby. It's that team beige. So, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about that. You can tell that the people that have not been in charge of anything say the most, that they sound like the people that have never been in charge of anything. I heard a prominent New York person that works for MSG, by the way, speak to how this hiring process looks a little off center. And then when I looked at his career, this dude ain't never been in charge of nothing, not even a family cookout.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How are you going to speak to hiring and firing when you've only been hired and you've never been in charge of personnel?
Yeah.
If you're the Knicks and Leon Rose, in my opinion, and I know this is an unpopular opinion because New Yorkers seem to like stuff to be like knee-jerk super fast. I believe Leon Rose is doing an excellent job in the coaching search, because the thing is, you don't want to go and find the flashiest name that might not be a fit and then try to fix all the things around that person. You want to take this dormant time in your NBA season, right, to repair all the damage that has been done by the previous person, and there has been some damage done. That's why he's no longer here, right?
Okay, let me ask you this.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Okay,
I got you. You want to repair the damage that was already done, right? And then, if you're Leon Rose, you also want to accumulate the most intel you can from around the league, so that you know from an outside source how your franchise looks, right? Because internally, you know how your franchise looks internally because you exist internally, but you don't know for certain how the outside, how the rest of the league and universally the Knicks look. Is it as an attractive job as what we think? Is Jalen Brunson a megastar, a superstar, or a star on the rise? Is Karl Anthony Towns unplayable? You want to answer, you want to get answers from all those people externally, because internally you believe you already have your answers. Now, how you go about doing that is getting permission from championship level coaches to talk to them. Right? The reason why these teams are denying their coaches permission to speak with the Knicks is not because they want to deny their coach a bigger paycheck. That's not what these teams want to do, right?
Okay.
Because in theory, this is the thing. In talent acquisition, you want to get the most information that you possibly can, right? And then bring it all together by a certain date and make that decision. You don't want to fire your coach on the 3rd and have a press conference the morning of June 5th announcing a new guy. What that means is, if you do that, what that meant all along was the guy that you just fired was a dead man walking in the first place, and you already had his replacement.
Yeah, the optics is bad.
Right. So what you want to just take it to interview everybody you can, talk to smart basketball minds, bring them and sit them down with no pressure. Like, hey, listen, we just basically kicking the tires in the conversation. Want to know, how you feel about the Knicks. How do you feel about OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges? You still think they're elite? If you had those guys, how would you implement them offensively and defensively? How would you keep those guys healthy along the season? How do you feel about Mitchell Robinson? Like we feel like Mitchell Robinson is a top 12 center in the NBA. How do you feel about Mitch? And your candidate may be like, top 12? Are you kidding? Mitchell Robinson, top 12? What are y'all smoking there? Right? But you don't know that until you get opinions from outside of your circle. That's how you know who you are. Not because ultimately your reputation is not what you say about yourself. It's what other people say about you.
Yeah.
And so by the Knicks taking 10 to 14 days to find a head coaching search and still have a week before the draft, to me is the smart thing to do, because you want to surround yourself by smart people, get intel for smart people, and then make decisions based on that.
Okay. So the question I was going to ask you was, what damage? What damage do you think Tibbs did
to the organization?
Or even the players, either or.
I would say there are multiple layers. The rumor that Tom Thibodeau and Leon Rose were not on speaking terms is major, because all along we thought of anybody in the organization, those two would be the tightest, because the rumor has always been those two have been friends for 40 years. They've been such and such, and the fact that they were not speaking to each other at the end lets you know that there has something happened. There's a disconnect between them. The fact that 2 or 3 players or 1 or 2 players said they can't see themselves even putting on a Knicks uniform next year if Tibbs is back means you have to go talk to those players, sit them down, and figure out what it was that had them so disheartened that they didn't want to play for the Knicks next year, and either fix it or fix it internally or move that player. Right? And so say for instance, say if it's Mikal Bridges, right? Say he's like, man, yo, that man almost ruined me, man. He had me running through screens. I don't want to be back. I don't want to play for the Knicks. This is a bad idea. Well, so Bridges, the next coach we bringing in, we're going to see if he has a different philosophy to take advantage of your star status. And Bridges be like, nah, I tried New York. I don't like it. Move me somewhere else. Right? Now, if that's the case, you want to know that before you hire the next coach. Because if you bring the next coach in and you already have something festering, you already set your new coach up for failure. And so that's what I mean by fix all of these things before you bring the guy in, right? You want to make your smart decision and then bring the coach in to a situation where he can succeed and thrive with all the support of the organization funneling towards the coach, so that he in turn funnel that, reflect that back to the players, and get the Knicks fans and franchise to that place that we've been waiting for 50 years.
Okay. If now, I'm gonna just say a couple of things right quick in rebuttal. Like, it's not the first time management and a coach kind of like fall out, right?
Right.
And
it happened today at work. It's the reason why I'm late. It happened today. These things happen. We're humans
all the time. The real point to me bringing that up is we did reach very far in the playoffs. Let me ask you this. I've watched some of your shows. I know the sentiment is generally that Tibbs either got outcoached or just didn't do a good job, especially again in the Indiana series. Do you feel like we got as far as we could because of Tibbs, like this season in the playoffs? Or did we get there in spite of Tibbs? Like, this was a great team. Tibbs held us back.
I'm not answering this because you said the word rebuttal. That means you have something to say.
No, I actually have nothing to say towards that. I really, it's more like I want more information to know where your mind is on coaching.
Because we don't have to rebut, man. We friends. We can just talk it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
we don't have to debate. We don't have to rebut. We don't have to do any of that. This is our space.
It's not a debate. No.
Yeah. So here's the thing about Tom Thibodeau getting outcoached. It's not as big a deal as what people make it out to be. Because Rick Carlisle already outcoached 3 coaches thus far. Yeah. Right. Indiana's in the NBA Finals, and he might outcoach a 4th coach. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not the biggest deal. Right. The deal with Tom Thibodeau, though, is the way he got outcoached. Right? Like getting outcoached, like losing at chess. You ever lost at chess?
Never. I've never lost at chess except against the computer.
This dude's a machine. This dude's an android, right? So the thing about getting outcoached is not getting the act of being outcoached. It's the style in which you are outcoached, right? If the other coach outfoxes you after a 15-round blow for blow thing, and at the end he pulls out this one last move, and it seems to be the piece de resistance to get them over the top, then okay. But if you get outcoached and it's clear you don't have any answers, then see, that's the part that's triggering for the players.
So in that same vein, I feel like that's really what pushed it over the top to fire him, is the fact that he had opportunities to play DeLon Wright and company, because DeLon Wright did play well when he got minutes. The idea that he played him game 4 was kind of like, come on, bro. You could have gotten better. You could have done more. Right. And then also too, like he gave too much of a leash to Cameron Payne. And in game 1, right, I felt like that kind of gave the Pacers momentum in that game.
Right.
Cameron Payne got a nice little leash. We had a good little lead, and then we extended the lead very far. And then Cameron Payne went a little haywire, and we started to lose it, and he kept giving him that chance. Ultimately, I still feel like, okay, Cameron Payne could have still gotten minutes, but you could have kept him on a shorter leash than, like, it's in psychology, they have this thing where they call it like all or nothing mentality, meaning that, like, hey, that person over there treated me like crap, so that means everyone in your house is going to treat me like crap. It's all or nothing. It's like there can't be no nice people inside the house or at this business or at, like, Tibbs. He outcoached 2 coaches to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, But because he get outcoached by Carlisle, that means he's not a good coach. So it's all or nothing for the fans. Like, it can't be a mixture of things where Tibbs is good against certain coaches or matchup makes fights. We can't we don't like look at nuance with the whole argument.
Well, the thing is, I understand that the conversation is layered.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you laid out layers.
Yeah.
And so I understand that, and each layer deserves its own nuance. I understand that, right?
Of course.
The thing with Tom Thibodeau, though, the reason why he's no longer here, and the reason why the Knicks are taking their time during a coaching search, is because the coaching staffs, I don't know if it's staffs or staffs, I think it's staffs, right? The coaching staffs in the playoffs seem to be very smart coaching staffs going against Tom Thibodeau and a bunch of dudes, for one, right? Like, for instance, how often do you hear Tom Thibodeau say, "Hey, man, we were working on some stuff, and Daish Yoshimoto came to me and said we should do such and such and such," touting somebody on his coaching staff?
No.
You don't see that. Nick G, I like to go to games down here. Like when the Knicks play down here, I try to go to all these games, right?
Yeah.
How often do you see the Knicks coaching staff standing around Tibbs in solidarity, rooting players on and contributing in a live huddle? Never. Every game I go to, the coaching staff is walking out to the players, meeting them, coming off the floor, getting their words in before Tom Thibodeau take over the huddle and start talking.
And that's very business-like. Is lack of, like, in a sense, humanism. It's like come to work, that work pale mentality. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing for establishing a culture. But when you get more talented guys on the court, and I'm just going based on things from Phil Jackson. Like when Phil Jackson was running the Bulls, you saw it inside of the Last Dance documentary. Phil Jackson had to balance crazy Dennis Rodman, Pippen, who thought he was just as good as Jordan,
right.
Ron Harper, who was very good and just like coming off injuries and just getting his career back.
Very skilled, yeah.
Very skilled. Like he had an ego too. You know what I mean? Like Kukoc, who was awesome in Europe. Like, so Phil Jackson had to balance all these things. And then, like Phil Jackson, in one of his books, he said that every team needs a crazy person, right? And that's Dennis Rodman. And what's the other guy? Lamar Odom. Like they just a little crazy. They got a little.
Even Ron Artest at the end.
Ron Artest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all that stuff plays a role. And you as a coach, this is where Tibbs does not excel in personalities. I don't feel like he balances that part well.
One of the things I think, and you're a working class professional. I'm not going to tell you business, but I'm just going to say it's very professional to everybody watching, right?
Yeah.
So here's the one thing. One of the things that I think got Tibbs fired, and I don't want to kick Tibbs back in because he's somewhere cashing checks with nowhere to go.
30 mil, baby.
Yeah, he good.
Mil.
He good. But here's the thing: when you are very good at your job, at work, right, and your bosses do certain things a certain way, there is a level of area where your boss opens up to you to take feedback because he knows that you're a high performer.
Yeah.
Right. He knows that you're a high performer. It's probably a bunch of high performers in this chat right now. But imagine if you're a high performer and your boss never took your feedback. He's telling you how to do your job, and you're doing the job better than he could ever imagine doing the same job.
Yeah.
Right? Think about that. You are a rock star in your job, right? And your boss got the job because he grinded his way up, you know what I'm saying, and got the job later in life. But you are a rock star and your your boss, the one that grind his way up, the one may have been doing your job for 27 years, is telling you you've been doing your job for 12 years, and he's telling you how to do your job, and you're 4 times the star he is when he was in your role. But he doesn't take your feedback.
Yeah.
These little things, right? These little nuanced relationships, communication.
Yeah.
Right. These small things are because in my opinion, there are probably about 7 teams in the league that will say to themselves, there are about 7 NBA teams that will look themselves in the mirror and say, hey, if everything goes right, we're a championship contending team.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 3 or 4 out west and probably 3 or 4 in the east. They will wake up tomorrow and look themselves in the eye and say, hey, if everything goes right, we have all the pieces to win a championship. What's stopping us from winning? Right? And the Knicks are one of those teams that look themselves in the mirror and say, hey, we have what it takes to win a championship. What's preventing us from getting there? And so if that's the conversation that you're having, then you have to move on from Tom Thibodeau, because there are instances when the national media, ex-coaches, everyone is pointing to the Knicks like, hey, you know what? The Knicks should have beat the Miami Heat in 2023 when all they had was injured Jimmy Butler and what's the point guard with the braids? Remember the point guard they had with the braids?
With the braids? It's not Tyler Hero.
No, Tyler Hero was hurt.
He was hurt, yeah.
They had Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent. How is Tom Thibodeau out here losing to Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, and an injured Jimmy Butler? People would say that. Now, I'm just pointing this out.
Yeah. Right. I mean, Gabe Vincent was incredible that series, but and Max Strus. Those guys outperformed and outpunched their weight. Which is funny because the year afterwards, I felt like a lot of guys on our team outpunched their weight class. So it's like Tibbs kind of like grabbed some of that same energy, but the injuries piled up.
And see, that's an excuse also. The thing is, Tom Thibodeau has had this stuff over the years, and that's why at some point you're like, hey man, listen. We can't keep feeding the fan base excuses, right? We can't keep saying, hey, I know we had a 2-0 lead against Indiana up big in the third quarter, right? Mm-hmm. And we let that lead get away because we gave out an energy down the stretch. Nah, Tibbs, you had a 2-0 lead, and this is 2024, not this year. In 2024, you had a 2-0 lead going to Indiana. Tyrese Halliburton had a back injury.
Yeah.
Right? Ben Mathurin, remember, didn't play in that series.
Didn't play, no.
Right? You up 2-0, up big in the fourth quarter, right? You give up the lead based on substitution with the mindset that it's all right, man. You know, we'll get them back in game 3. And then come to find out the Indiana Pacers beat us 4 out of the next 5 games with injuries. They were injured also. Mm-hmm. The year we lost to Miami was injured also. Every year that we make excuses for Tom Thibodeau, we have to look at what the other team was doing also. The other team was injured also. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's these things that you know, in terms of when you're talking about repairing the damage that was done, these are the type of repairs that I think a smart organization will do. Put out all the small fires, mend fences, fix relationships. Get feedback from your best players. Like talk to Mikal Bridges. Bridges, like, you know, I know it seemed like you had a bad year, but defensively, you were a pretty good defender. And offensively, I mean, you shot 35% from 3, which is kind of like around, and then you shot 50% from the floor, which is around, that's 50% from the floor for a wing player is really good.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, you know, what can we do to make your life easier as a Knick? Josh, what can we do to make your life easier as a Knick? Mitchell Robinson? Mitch, what can we do to make your life easier? Right? Because we have decisions to make. Mikal Mikal Bridges and Mitchell Robinson are extension eligible.
Yeah.
Do you want to hire the wrong guy and then have them not want to sign their extension or draw this thing out, create drama? Or do you want to take your time in the coaching search and find the right guy?
Okay. All right. Well, before we even go to like who we think is the right guy, what is the right type of guy? DJ Cash said all we need is a strategist.
Cash rule everything. Cash, you watching the conversation, man? Get out of Nick G head.
Like, but think about it. Like, so, like, what's the type of coach? A strategist? Like, I don't know who the strategist is. If you look at some of the coaches that's like leading teams now, basically we're looking at a lot of old coach versus new coach or young coach in the NBA Finals. You had old coach and Mike Malone against who did Denver play? I think they played against the Celtics, right?
Yeah, Joe Mazzulla.
You had
Rick Carlisle right now versus Magna, the OKC coach.
OKC coach. You know, you have these kind of swings where it's like different styles of coaching, where a lot of the young coaches are very three happy. You know, like they're very analytic driven. That's basically like Mazzulla. Like his strategy is so flawed, but yet it's still so good. It can win you games. It won him a championship. What is the culture, especially with a team with Cat and Brunson, which are weaknesses on defense? You know, you got to think about how could you maximize those guys? Do you just go all offense, and like that's your strategy? Because we're built really to be an offensive team.
Well, let me ask you this. Will their offense be affected if they play defense? Yes. If you ask Cat and Brunson to sacrifice some of that energy on offense to play some defense, does that make them worse offensive players? Right? Because you can leave them in their current pocket of, hey, we're going to try on defense, but we're here for the goodies. We're here for buckets. Or you can ask them to play a little bit of defense that is healthy in a defensive scheme that can help them conserve that offensive energy on defense, right? So they can take more of a workload on offense, right? And so one would say the easy way to fix that, Nick G, is play your bench. If you add a bench that's worth playing and that you trust, then now Brunson and Cat can play defense, put energy into it, and say lesser high leverage minutes. Like for instance, the Knicks were up 27 in a game with 3 minutes left to go, and Tibbs would not take his starters off the floor. Rick Brunson had to walk to him and tell him, get these cats off the floor. And he looked at Rick Brunson like Rick Brunson had three heads.
Yeah.
Right? In that moment, you're thinking, like, man, it's only 3 minutes left to play in the game, man. You know, let them play this thing out. That's Tibbs thinking.
Yeah.
But what's the overall effect of high leverage minutes on your legs and a blowout where you know the team is not coming back?
So, and I feel sorry for Tibbs in that kind of scenario, mainly because you could finish this sentence. Scared money make what?
Scared money don't make money.
Okay. You remember this movie named Talladega Nights?
Yeah, I remember that.
When Ricky Bobby thought he was on fire.
You're not on fire, Ricky Bobby.
So Tibbs had a moment in when he was part of the Rockets staff when Tracy McGrady and they lost, right? If I'm not mistaken, it was Tracy McGrady. But they had like a big lead and lost it.
Right.
Lost the game.
Okay.
And I think that's like the driving factor of why he sees fire. I feel sorry for him in that because he can't undo that. I got to play my starters to protect the lead. I actually wish, I don't know what kind of bench we could build.
That's why you gotta interview all the talent
No,
around the
I
league.
agree. I'm just saying, I'm looking at, like, when I'm talking, like, from the money, from the players that we already have, who do we keep, who do we let go? And I understand the type of coach that we bring in has a big part to play, but based on the limitations, do we keep, like, how many players on the starting five do we keep? Do we move Josh Hart to the bench? Do we start Deuce McBride? Do we start Mitch? Do we, like, there's different things to kind of suss out, that I don't know what kind of coach is the person that would propel this team forward.
But of course you don't make that decision
I don't.
and then before you have the coach, right? You get the coach first and let the coach tell you, because here's the thing. Here's the thing. And this is an example and a life lesson, I guess, at the same time for me. When you and I met, we're like polar opposites,
Yeah.
right? You got like a great job, y'all rich, you know what I'm saying? Great, you know what I'm saying? All this stuff, got money to blow, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? All this stuff.
Breezy got the game. He been flirting with Janet Jackson.
You gotta, and a little bit in the rain, in the rain, ironically. Okay, but here's the thing. But if we didn't get a chance to meet each other and talk to each other,
Yeah.
we would not have known how our talents balance out.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're the Knicks and you know somebody adjacent, right? You're like, hey man, yeah, Taylor Jenkins, he was a good coach, man. I know him in passing. We talked to him, but he was coaching the Grizzlies, so we never got a chance. But then when you sit down with him, you get to know what his real ideologies are, right? Like Taylor Jenkins, like for instance, Taylor Jenkins, when you were coaching the Grizzlies, were you able to implement everything you wanted to fully? Did you have carte blanche, or did you have to work within the structure of the Grizzlies organization? Did you have to work within what the GM and team president wanted you to do? Right?
Yeah.
How was the development there? Were you hands-on developing young players, or did the GM take the development of young players, pass it off to some guys that they hired, and then when they're ready, they presented them to you? You don't know these things until you speak to the coaches, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to get the Knicks fans to realize. Don't just go by what you see on game day by these coaches. You have to sit down with them and let them share their world with you, and then you share your world view with them. And then if you're a match, then you look to interview, like, hey, listen, Taylor, that was a great interview, man. We just due diligence. We really, really like you, but we just want to continue shopping, right? We're just gonna put you in the cart and we're gonna continue shopping. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not interested, because we are, but we're just gonna put you in the cart right now and then go back and continue shopping. And then we'll see if we can meet again after this next round. Right?
So let me ask you this question, because you mentioned that, and I understand that when it applies to pretty much most of the coaches that we're going to interview. How does that apply to Johnny Bryant, who's been in-house already? Because you really don't need to interview Johnny Bryant like that.
Or do you really need to interview, or do you need to interview him more intensely than the others? See, because Johnny Bryant has never been the head coach of a team.
Ever. I agree.
Right. At no level. Right. So if you're Leon Rose, you're like, so Johnny, tell me why you here. Right. Tell me why you accepted this. Tell me why, you're interviewing in this round of interviews with other guys with NBA head coaching experience, and you don't have any. Right. And it might sound like you're talking down on Johnny Bryant, but you're not. You're giving him the opportunity to express to you why he belongs. Like, tell us why you belong with this group of experienced head coaches. And if he blows you away with his answer, with his worldview, then you take him, you don't no longer look at him as a head coach with no experience. I mean, assistant coach with no head coaching experience. You look at him as a head coach in waiting. There's a difference.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to Johnny Bryant, give Johnny Bryant the opportunity to knock his socks off. And if he don't knock his socks off, there's no harm in it. He's still young.
Yeah, he is. I feel like Johnny Bryant is the most interesting character in this whole thing, because the fact that he was able to talk to Tibbs. I've never seen a coach, assistant coach, approach him as many times as he has in the years that he was here. Like, he really did have Tibbs's ear, and that really spoke wonders for me. Like there's something that he thinks when it comes to thinking the game that translated well to Tibbs.
Right. If that's the case, do you want to bring in a Tibbs disciple?
I don't feel like Johnny Bryant is perfectly I can't technically say he's a Tibbs disciple.
I don't either, and that's the reason why the way you framed it, I asked that in the way that you framed it, right?
Okay.
Like, he had Tibbs's ear, maybe Tibbs, there's something about him that Tibbs liked and such and such.
Yeah.
What I would say is Johnny Bryant, you bounced around the league a lot. Tell me what you learned in your travels.
Agreed. All right. The other half to Johnny Bryant, I think Johnny Bryant might be the only coach we could hire and Rick Brunson keep his job. I don't know how important Rick Brunson keeping his job is.
Let me ask you this. How important is it for Rick Brunson to keep his job? Now, I just heard your answer. I just heard you, right? Just heard you say you don't know, but I'm asking you in a non-basketball sense.
No, it's not important at all. Not to me.
So there is no connection to chemistry with Rick Brunson keeping his job, even though his son is the starting point guard.
Yes.
You don't think that's going to create a rift?
Okay. I'll put it to you like this, in this way. Rick Brunson may affect the stability or that Brunson might feel. But Brunson is still, like, Rick still has connections with the higher ups, the guys over the coach. You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Rick Brunson is so much family with Leon Rose, and also Jalen Brunson. Like, they are established. They'll be taken care of regardless.
Yeah.
I don't think they have to be part of the staff, the coaching staff.
The day-to-day, right?
Yeah, they don't have to be part of the day-to-day. To feel like they.
My answer to that is, right?
All right, go ahead.
My answer to that is put Rick Brunson in a suit. Rick Brunson is the assistant. He's the assistant to the GM. Special assistant to the GM is Rick Brunson. You keep Jalen Brunson happy. Rick Brunson still has a job. He's still with the Knicks. Right, you still get his basketball advice on a daily basis. He gets to walk around a facility, give his input. Right, you have a relationship mended, but you go out and get you a championship level coaching staff. And I know, in chat, I know.
I can't do that.
Yeah, I know how y'all feel about that. Y'all don't want to. Y'all have never heard the part where Rick Brunson in a suit, Rick Brunson to the front office is something new. I'm the number one chief rocker, baby. That's why I'm here. I think for myself. I'm not gonna watch all the YouTube shows and then come back and recycle what it is I heard on other shows. Right?
Yeah.
We think for ourselves here, baby. The rise. That's why we here.
Okay, let's talk candidates. Out of all these candidates, which one do you like the most?
I only want one, but go ahead.
Which one you want most?
Tyronn Lue. I want Tyronn Lue like a bear wants honey. A bear legit will attack a beehive, right? In order to get honey, right?
man. I hate you so
Yeah,
much.
yo, a bear legit will attack a bee 10,000 to 1, but the bear want honey.
I hate you so much.
That's
man.
how I feel about Tyronn Lue, right? I want Tyronn Lue so bad, bro. I think he's the perfect fit, right? I think Tyronn Lue is the perfect fit because he does all the things that our scattered fan base says they want, right?
Ty Lue, bro.
Yeah, Ty Lue, for one, he's an innovator defensively and offensively. Tyronn Lue, during stretches of the season last year, ran a 2 shooting guard system.
Okay.
They ran a 2 shooting guard center around Kawhi Leonard, right? And you like 2 shoot. Where's the point guard? Hey, nah, dog, we got Kawhi Leonard, bro. We just gonna run 2 wing players around Kawhi, and that's gonna be our offense. Tyronn Lue also the small ball 5. I'm not saying Tyronn Lue started that, but he started that recently, right?
Yeah.
If you remember the game we lost to the Clippers, I think it was when Nicholas Batum hit the 3-pointer at the buzzer.
Yeah.
Remember we ran out there like at Nick Batum, like, he ain't gonna make that. Oh, he hit a 3 at the buzzer. Yeah, Tyronn Lue took out all his bigs and put all them wings on the floor so that he can get a shot. He didn't care about rebounding. He's like, if you get the rebound with a second left and we down 3, what's the point? If that was Tibbs, he'd had Mitchell Robinson on the floor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
also he develops. And you know what else he's done, Nick G? He's coached elite wing players. He's coached LeBron James, right? He coached Paul George. He's coached Kawhi Leonard. And the Knicks have OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. And you don't know how great they can be because I think that both of us feel like they've been stifled.
Yes, I agree with that. Okay.
And he's coached under immense pressure.
To the point that he had heart problems.
Yeah. He's coached LeBron in his prime. And he coached the Clippers. He coached the Clippers while the Lakers were while the Lakers were trying to win championships. And a pressure cooker in LA, they built a brand new stadium. They put the most expensive roster in the league together. All these different things. Tyronn Lue was the head coach.
This is tough. I like that one. That if you were to steal a coach, I think that would be the one to steal.
Yep.
But he's under contract till 2028, 29.
Right.
So that's really
that's a dream. But you asked me who I wanted.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good one though.
Bro, you ever seen a bear attack a beehive, bro? It's 10,000 bees against one bear that want honey.
Let me just say one more thing about Ty Lue. Of course, I don't think we'll get that because Steve Ballmer and James Dolan had clashed over the Spear. No, not the Spear, but that same stadium that they just built, the Clippers did, and they had all kind of problems. I feel like they just won't be able to come to an agreement. I just can't see them working together.
Not with Dallas either because of beef behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Right. It's all over the place.
Yeah, it's all over the place. And I stealing Brunson from Dallas probably plays a role and all that stuff too, So I'm just saying I don't want to go to like too far of a pipe dream. I would say Johnny Bryant. If you really want to get like deep into it, Quinn Snyder. Like stealing a coach, it will be Quinn Snyder for me or Ty Lue. I would give you that one. I never said it, but I felt like Quinn Snyder is a great coach. Ty Lue is just as good, man. His out of timeout plays and stuff like that it's remarkable.
Immaculate, bro. We don't even know what out of timeout plays are, bro.
No, we hadn't seen that in years.
In years.
Yeah. I think Mike Miller did run one once, but it is what it is. But Because I consider Johnny Bryant more of a Quinn Snyder disciple, I would lean to more towards Johnny Bryant because he is on the market. He's a disciple of, and he could. I feel like he has rapport with this franchise. I'm not gonna just say like the players on the team because there's been some players that's moved around and stuff like that. The big thing for me with Johnny Bryant specifically, I'm looking at what everyone's wet dream, excuse my French, is Tyler Kolek. Tyler Kolek this past season did not drive the ball to the rim. Every player that Johnny Bryant has helped, Donovan Mitchell, what's the
Damian
other
Lillard.
guy? Dame, Emmanuel quickly, they all got better. Even RJ Barrett, they got better at getting closer to the rim. Like he's had a very big role in the floater game that guys developed when they were here. He made that a very efficient shot. I think that if Tyler Kolek could add a floater to his game, that would help tremendously in making him playable next to other players, especially having like a TJ McConnell type role. Um, Someone is saying Sam Cassell. I think he would be a very good dark horse, but I don't know if he has the X's and O's like that. But I'm going to say Johnny.
Do you have a specific head coach that you like?
Specific, I just
Outside, well, yeah, you did. Yeah, I'm sorry.
it was more Quinn Snyder, but I just go Johnny Bryant because of what the young players need that finishing at the rim, and then thinking about the offense that they ran in Utah, plus what they ran in Cleveland. Like if he has any of that in his bag, now that he's moved around a lot, I would just want that here.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. So ultimately, where I am when it comes to the head coaching search, I'm telling Leon Rose, "Hey, man, big boy, take your time. Why are you in a rush? You can't let the fans run the team, right?
Agreed.
When you let the fans run the team, the fans will run the team in the ground. Everything is knee jerk. Don't get a guy, hurry up.
Every time.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yep.
If you've ever been in any relationship with any person and you broke up out of a relationship, the last thing you do is sprint to another relationship.
Yep. You got to give yourself time to heal.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
No one breaks up out of a relationship and then sprints all into another relationship.
Yeah,
it's not healthy.
Bro. You're preaching, bro.
Yeah, it's not healthy. It's the reason why the Knicks are taking their time. Because in theory, Tom Thibodeau was just about the face of the New York Knicks for an extended amount of time.
He was married to the Knicks.
He was
like you can't just run to a new relationship. You're right.
Right. And I know this is professional sports and it doesn't seem the same, but the next coach, I can guarantee you, the next coach is going to be made out of flesh and bone. That's one thing I can guarantee. Leon Rose is not gonna hire AI. ChatGPT is not gonna be the coach. And if that person of flesh and blood come in here to deal with other human beings of flesh and blood, there are gonna have to be some introductions, some new relationship building, some hierarchy established, all these different type things are gonna have to be in place in order for the Knicks to be successful as a franchise. And if you want to be successful as a franchise, take your time. That's it. Why are you in a rush? There are no games this week at all. Not for the Knicks.
I agree. I actually feel like even the draft pick is kind of worthless.
And don't you trust your scouts and all of them? Like even if you hire a new coach, all the work your scouts did all year is still going to go into play, and you still have a GM, personnel guys, and team president in place, so they're not going to do you wrong at all, right? And then plus right now have 5 rookies on the roster, including Anton Watson, Ariel Hukporty, Tyler Kolek, Pacom Dadier, and Kev McCullough. You have all these dudes. So even if you don't make a draft pick this year, you still have 5 first-year players with James Najee on the horizon, right? So that's 6 potential very young players on your roster, on a roster that's only going to hold 15.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, so what do? Do you go out and draft more guys? Do you carry 6 rookies or 6 first and second year guys? Most teams don't do that unless they're rebuilding.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't bash Tibbs for not playing rookies. I'm gonna let you know that right now.
Okay.
I didn't care about. You don't have championship aspirations and play rookies. That never happened. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all those rookie loving fans. But that never happened.
Right. Yeah. No. You could play a guy or 2 in your rotation. And if they've earned the right to play, if they beat out a veteran, they'll play more minutes.
Yeah, of course.
But they have to beat out a veteran. You're not going to promote them without them proving that they can play an established role on every night.
Yeah. And they got to be the most consistent basketball players.
They got to earn those minutes every night, because any slip backwards, here come the veteran.
Yep.
Right. So
especially if you have championship type aspirations.
Exactly. Hey, Nick G, that's all I got, bro.
All right.
And that's all I got, man. I'm telling you, man, 60 minutes go fast, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I appreciate the fact that you carved out some time for us, man.
No, thank you for even inviting me, man. I'm gonna try to do some more this summer, but I'm gonna also chop up the video too, if you don't mind. I'm gonna send you some stuff.
Nah, of course. Why would I expect less? Right? Why would I expect less? Hey, thank you everybody for coming out, hanging out with us, man. I'm gonna reset this. I need for this to be a certain length, everybody. So I'm gonna end this here and get on the phone with the guys and see what they want to do in a few minutes. But thank y'all for coming through and watching this little featurette. We out of here, man. Peace, everybody.
All right, peace.